In this episode, we're going to talk about 3 types of reasonings that agents use, or you can use them actually in products like ChatGPT and Gemini to solve your day-to-day problems also, if you want the agent to be a very smart, intelligent assistant that can work with you on problems. One is reactive reasoning, the second is deliberative reasoning, and the third is meta reasoning. The first one, reactive reasoning, you can think of naive RAG or a RAG pipeline that directly goes to a database or a data source, grabs the information, and then it's passed to the large language models to synthesize an answer. That's pretty straightforward. It's reactive reasoning. And the model sees the question and returns a response pretty quick. No steps, no internal dialogue. It's fast and it's cheap, and it works for simple lookups and FAQs. But it's not thinking, it's just responding. Now we move beyond reflex. In deliberative reasoning, what happens is that the model actually models the problem and breaks it down into steps and acts with intent. One of these methods is chain of thought. You can give it an example of a train that travels 60 miles per hour going from Boston to New York. And from New York, there is another train that is going at 40 miles per hour heading to Boston. When are they going to meet? Now, without chain of thought, what's going to happen is that what it's going to try to do is shoot a reactive answer. But with chain of thought, it's going to break down the problem step by step.
So the first time, large language model is going to try to actually reactively answer the question, give me a response. That could be wrong, that could be right. But now we can assure that it can break down the problem more by providing this small chain of thought move of saying, think step by step before answering. And what's going to happen here for such a question is, first of all, it's going to identify the distance between the two cities. It's 1, and then it's going to determine speed of the two trains. And after that, it's going to actually try to calculate combined speed. Then it's going to try to calculate the time. So you can see how this breakdown actually allowed the large language model to solve the problem in a much proper way and to tell us how it's working on the problem. So it's beneficial for the user to actually see the work that is being done, and at the same time for the large language model to accomplish the task. And now imagine if that problem has more complexity, then the chain of thought helps a lot in breaking down even bigger problems. So chain of thought forces the model to go step by step throughout the logic. So it doesn't just give a number, it actually gives the why the number is correct. And this hits 2 goals. One is it improves accuracy, and the second one is the model or the agent can actually solve much more complex problems. Another deliberative reasoning type or method is tree of thought. Tree of thought is actually really good at strategic thinking once you want to choose between multiple options. If you talk to an agent or a model and say, how can I grow my business in my second quarter, and you give it that much context about your business, it's going to branch or give multiple options first. So it's going to say, first one, reduce churn. Second option is to launch a new product. And maybe the third option is to increase more ad spend. So in our example, our main goal is to increase revenue in Q2. And this could result in the examples that we gave of like what would be the options that we have. We can reduce churn. We can launch a new product, or we can increase ad spend. And the idea is not only to choose one of the paths, the idea is to go through all the paths and see what best fit for the goal that we're trying to accomplish. So either choose the path that works, or maybe combine multiple paths. So in this case, we have these 3 paths, and we're going to break them down more to see what we can do about them. So in the case of reduced churn, it could be that we can improve onboarding. And maybe we can offer a discount for existing at-risk customers. And maybe we can add live chat for support. Now these are all paths or leaves from these branches, which could be translated into actions eventually. Now, for launching a new product, same thing. Like we can say we can analyze Q1, see what kind of features are out there, and actually try to see what's the common feature request that we have. Common feature requests that we can improve on. Or we can launch to existing customers first so we can actually validate. Launch to existing beta customers, maybe, or customers accepting beta versions. And create a bundle with existing products to increase average order value. So we can create bundles. That's another move also under this branch. Now, for increased ad spend, what we can do is scale up top performing Facebook and Google campaigns, like bet on certain social media to increase the spend there, or test new channels. Maybe there's social media channels or search engines that we can test out that we haven't explored before. Use AI to target new audience plus decrease cost. Now, once you measure all these options in place, whether depending on ROI, on time spent, effort, time to impact, and strategic fit, the thinking process is going to be, for example, reducing churn could be low cost, but at the same time, it's slow to show results. Launching a new product or new features could open new streams of revenue, but at the same time, it's medium-sized. It's not small effort, but it's not a big effort either. Ad spend would have fast results, but you need cash up front, and it may burn your budget if not optimized. So tree of thought is not about, again, as I mentioned, not choosing a specific branch or a specific decision, but it's combining and thinking in parallel. So what will be the combination that works the best? So we could combine onboarding to reduce churn. We can use soft launch to existing customers, and we can also use AI targeted ads. This mix could help you retain current customers, monetize the existing base with a new offer, and acquire new customers efficiently. Tree of thought is more exploratory. Instead of one line of reasoning, it provides multiple options or branches, just like a decision tree, and it brainstorms. Then it compares or combines them to actually get to the best decision. And again, this is great when it comes to planning, creativity, and strategic decisions. One of the other deliberative reasoning methods that are really used in frameworks right now, and it's a pretty cool paper to actually read, which is React. The idea is it combines reasoning from the model with tools that can help take decisions or break down problems even more. So React combines reason and action. So a model, let's say if you ask it, I want to travel to Italy, help me plan for this. One of the steps that the model can do, if it has the right tools to actually get to a weather API or a tool that checks weather for it, it's going to take one of the steps is to check the weather in Italy and say what will be the best time that you go there. So now the tool empower the model to be much more of a problem solver for more complex problems. The agent reasons and then takes action, like calling a tool or an API, sees the result that comes back, and then reasons again. With React, right now it's a different level because right now you are interacting with your environment. You have some power tools in hand for that model or agent that it can use to actually find out information and reason much better, or maybe dig deeper into certain problems to solve it. So for our example about improving revenue for second quarter, we can have the problem right here. How can I increase revenue for Q2? In this case, the first thing that the agent is going to look at is to increase revenue, I need to check the weaknesses of what's happening inside my company. Let's hypothetically consider that it has access to our customer CRM and systems. So in this case, I'm going to check where the growth areas are and what weaknesses. Check growth areas and weaknesses. That's what the agent is going to take as first step. And to do this first step, it's going to do a CRM API call. that CRM API call, what it's going to do is to get the churn rate, for example, to get the churn rate. Let's say it finds out that it's 15%. In this case, it found out that it's 15% churn rate. Now it needs to understand the why behind it. And let's say it has the power also to check customer exit surveys to understand why do we have a high churn rate. And let's say that the agent, whatever came back from this data, showed that it's poor onboarding process and support in this case. So now the agent is thinking maybe it's better then to improve support and onboarding process. So it's going to recommend onboarding redesign, let's say, plus implementing a chatbot for support. And then the agent's final answer is going to be focus on churn rate through improving onboarding and support to drive revenue, to answer this question eventually. Now, the interesting part is that this is not one thought. First of all, the first thought is right here, where it considered that I need to know what is my churn rate in this case. So this is thought one. And from thought one, then there was another question. This question is, why do I have such churn rate? I need to understand the reason. So this is going to be thought two. And thought three is right here, where it sees that improving support and onboarding process can solve for this problem. So I'm going to recommend this. And this was thought number three, which ended up at the end with the conclusion that we gave to our user. So you can see how powerful this process is. And imagine when it's built in with very powerful tools and that agent has a lot of familiarity with your enterprise systems. Yes, it's a balance, how much power you want to give it, but at the same time, you can see how much benefits you get from such concepts. So React is pretty powerful.
This turns large language models into interactive agents. They fetch live data and operate in real-world workflows. So this method is one of the game changers when it comes to autonomous systems. Now for the third type of reasoning, which is meta reasoning. Now we level up. Meta reasoning is when the agent thinks of how it thinks and keeps improving that thinking process over time. One of the methods of meta reasoning is reflection, version 1 and 2. Version 2 becoming more production ready and more mature. Reflection creates a learning loop. The agent reflects on what worked and what didn't, critiques itself, and improves it for the next cycle or the next loop. So it updates its strategy. It's like giving your agent a built-in coach.
Something worth noting here is that we are trying to stick with the same example just so everybody can connect the dots. But that doesn't mean that every reasoning method works best for such a scenario. Reflection V2, increase revenue in Q2. We're going to start trying stuff. First, we're going to say, let's say 25%. And this is what we're saying, that it's the first experiment or thought that we want to take action on. The action is going to be launch a campaign on, let's say, Facebook and Google. And then this will end up with some certain result or an observation. And let's say that the result and observation is that more traffic, definitely, but cost per acquisition is very high. So now we end up with the reflection. And the reflection in this case will be, I didn't evaluate efficiency. Spending more on ads is not the way. All right, so this is our first reflection in this case. Now we're gonna, depending on this reflection, say, all right, so what's our next attempt? Let's say our next attempt is gonna be, let's target existing customers with bundles and email promotion. And in this case, this will end up with an action, create product bundles and emails. And then this action again is going to translate into a result and an observation. So we took the action now. It's better margins. Let's say it's better margins, good uplift, but not enough volume. Now that, of course, is going to be another reflection after this observation is I didn't balance between acquisition, or I didn't. So now the observation is going to be improved margin, but didn't expand reach. So the next final attempt, in this case, to balance this is to say, let's combine low-cost retention with targeted AI optimized acquisition campaigns. We did this reflection. Let's put this reflection a different color too. All right. So again, this is our last attempt. This attempt is going to end up with an action, and the action is AI will help us identify customer segments and launch targeted ads, personalized bundle. That's our action, observation, and result. Revenue increases plus low cost of acquisition plus high average order value. This is great. So once we get to that, now we got our final attempt with the final observational result, and it seems that it's meeting all the goals to actually get to the root goal that we have, which is to increase revenue in Q2. Then the AI done its job through this reasoning method, and it goes, since it meets that goal, you can see how each method can serve a different purpose, and combining those methods can also benefit us in certain business scenarios or a workflow that needs to mix multiple reasoning methods together to actually serve a purpose. A Reflection V2 is a pretty powerful meta reasoning method.
This is critical for long horizon tasks, just like building a code base, navigating open-ended challenges. It's how agents become smart over time. These aren't the only reasoning methods out there, but they are some of the most powerful methods for AI agents to be built to get smarter and improve, reason, take action, and evolve. So now you understand how agents think. We want to know, how can we automate real business workflows? Because not every business case is going to need a fleet of agents. Sometimes one smart agent is all you need. So if you're serious about building AI systems and not just chatbots, follow along. Thank you so much.
For Robbie Innovations.